I'm going to begin, Andy, just asking, I mean, Caesar must be a character you feel so incredibly close to right now. I guess it could one day be quite hard to let go of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very rare that an actor gets an opportunity to play a character all the way through from birth to late maturity. So yeah, and I feel I know him and care for him quite intensely, really.
There's such a nuance to the apes in the sense that it doesn't matter who's on camera at any point, you always kind of know exactly who it is.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about how you went about differentiating between each different character, whether it's just the subtlety in their emotions or their sort of the way they would carry themselves.
Well, that's down to the acting, the individual actors and the way that they approach their roles. I mean, Karen Carnival, who plays Maurice, studied orangutans, for months and became, for years actually, she's been following this one orangutan who she still has a relationship with. Terry Notary, who plays Rocket, is a brilliant actor, and as well as being the movement coach, and teaches all of the different guys who come in to be part of their species, whether they're chimpanzee, orangutan, gorillas, And I suppose I've but the most important thing to remember is it's not just doing an impersonation of an ape. It's actually forming a character, and that's a completely different thing, because none of that would mean anything if it weren't for the individual take on the character, both from the director, the writers, but also from the actors themselves.
I mean, sort of motion capture is something that you've really dominated now in kind of cinema. It's something that you can really call your own. And I was just wondering about what it was initially that made you just want to embrace this new kind of means of storytelling.
I love it because it's philosophically, it means that you can play anything. So actually, after I finished playing Gollum and was just about to finish up on that, thinking, I'll just go back to my life playing characters in a more conventional way, Peter Jackson asked me to play King Kong, and I just thought, this is an extraordinary moment, because it means that it's the death of stereotyping. You can actually play anything on the planet. You can embody anything, you can become anything, and that's why I've been really drawn to it as a tool, as an actor's tool, a 21st century actor's means of storytelling and creating characters, not being inhibited by your shape or your size or your what the colour of your skin is, or what sex you are. It's an amazing sort of egalitarian tool for actors.
And I mean, you mentioned obviously you can play anything, but Caesar is such, I mean, the parallels to humanity is incredible. And in fact, he's sometimes got more empathy than the humans, and they're more primitive sometimes than the apes. Absolutely. Is that part of the appeal of this franchise? It's just showing that lack of distance between ourselves and apes as well.
That's absolutely what it's about. I mean, the whole series of films is about being able to see us, going through the eyes of apes. We're actually able to see more about ourselves, and also in this film is particularly about empathy. And Caesar is, by definition, a sort of an empathetic character who's uniquely positioned to see the world of humans and the world of apes, and as such he can feel for both, which makes him. But curiously, in this story, in War, he loses that empathy because of the events that happen to him at the beginning of the movie, where he's suddenly sent on this journey full of hatred, fueled by hatred. He goes off on a mission where he loses himself, and as he is evolving, as he is becoming more human-like, his actual emotions are feeling more animalistic. So it's a very curious sort of tension.
And what do you think is the future now for the Planet of the Apes franchise?
Well, I think. Look, eventually we have to end up back at the original 1968 version, where it was a Planet of Apes, and it was completely, they are fully evolved, and humans have become their cattle, if you like. But up to that, that's still a few generations away, and there are still plenty of stories, lots of different stories, and where it all depends on how you want to drop anchor on at which point of that evolution.
And I literally interviewed Colin Trevorrow about 2 hours ago, and of course we were discussing all things Star Wars. I mean, that must be a franchise you're incredibly thrilled to be a part of as well. I mean, it's one of anyone who's kind of been a part of it, the second you mention it, they just sort of light up, because it's something that's sort of so special, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible. We all grew up and loved Star Wars, and it's an amazing thing to be part of that. So, of course, I can't really say too much about it, other than that Rian Johnson has made the most incredible movie, and I'm very excited for audiences to see it.
Because, I mean, you called Snoke a sort of damaged villain. I mean, can we expect to see any of his story sort of expanded upon in future films? Can you say? that much?
Can't say anything, and you know that.
It's worth a go. What you can probably speak about, hopefully, is Breathe, which is next for you, which I've been fortunate enough to see. And I mean, it's got two incredible lead performances. Was it quite nice in some ways, returning to the real world in some regards, and depicting, well, obviously a real story, and not I mean, as we've established, Wolf and Planet of the Apes is incredibly realistic and it thrives in that kind of area. But is it quite nice to have something a bit more steeped in realism, I suppose?
No, sure. No, it's a wonderful, a wonderful opportunity, and to work with such great actors. I mean, Andrew Garfield's phenomenal in it, and Claire Foy is just exceptional. So and together their chemistry on screen is beautiful to watch, and it's a really amazing true story. And because it's not about anybody famous as well, it sort of allows you to really get into the characters without having to do a lot of explaining about the back history of of their fame or their notoriety or whatever. It's a really wonderful triumph of the human spirit over adversity. A great love story, but it's fun too, and it's uplifting. I think hopefully you found that.
Well, I cried the whole way through it, if that helps. Right. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey